Mushrooms! I really love mushrooms. Okay. People tend to overcook mushrooms. What you should do, tip number one, do not wash them directly underwater. Because that's what we're told to do. When you're washing a veg, you need to put it directly underwater and then chuck it in. What happens is, mushrooms act like sponges. So it absorbs the water that you put onto it. So when you cook it, then there's so much water in there, and then it's all sloppy and gross. So what you should do, get normal paper towel, don't rinse it or anything, and just like dust off any like soil that you see on top of the mushroom. Slice it up, and then what I would do, put it on a high heat, and then saute 2-3 minutes. You still want a bit of a bite on it. You don't want it to be like sloppy and gross. And don't add too much oil when you saute. Also, another thing about mushrooms, you'll notice that even when you cook it in like a small amount of oil, once you've actually begun like, you know, stirring it around, you'll notice there's no more oil in your pan. So it's absorbed everything, and what happens is like it slowly releases. So you don't want to put too much, because once it releases everything, then it's, you know, limp. So like I said, a little bit of oil, saute it a bit. If you want, you can add a little bit of lemon in there. What that does is it actually, what I've noticed, it cooks it quicker. I like rosemary on my mushrooms, that's really yummy. You make them peppery if you want, just normal salt and pepper. Cayenne pepper, I like to make spicy mushrooms, that's really good. But yeah, you don't want to really overwhelm your mushrooms with too much. So I would stick to simple flavor profiles. So your salt and pepper, add a bit of rosemary if you want to, add a bit of chili just to change it up a bit. Also what you can do is you can add cinnamon and nutmeg, and it gives it a bit of an earthy taste.
Ooh. That sounds good.
Okay, beef is probably the most common food that contains protein. We all think of beef when we think protein. It's an easy protein to cook if you can cook it properly. What people tend to think is you should cook beef till it's like well done, nothing's leaking out of it. It's actually better if it's medium rare to medium. That's where you get the most nutritional value out of that piece of meat. Usually before I cook a piece of beef, I like to just add a bit of pepper onto it before I salt it. So don't add salt first, because it draws the moisture out, makes it dry. I add a bit of pepper onto it, maybe put it in the fridge for a bit, and then just before you cook it, leave it till it gets to room temperature. Because if you cook it straight out of the fridge, it shrinks and it becomes tough. High heat and then like really cold is not good when you're cooking meat. I would just put some pepper on it, throw it on into the frying pan. In terms of like spices and herbs, I would maybe put like a bit of rosemary on there. So you can do that when you add your pepper. A little bit of garlic if you're a garlic fan. You don't want to overwhelm beef with too many flavors, because it kind of just takes away from the actual piece of meat. So yeah, I do pepper, a bit of rosemary, salt afterwards, and then let your meat rest. So resting is when you put it to the side and you see all the juices coming out. So your meat is resting, and then what happens after that is it actually continues to cook in its own little temperature bubble. So that's why I say don't overcook it, because you can still take it off and it continues to cook while it's resting. Take it out, put it on a normal plate, let it rest. All the juices will come out, and then good to go. Cool trick. This is how you can check for the doneness of your meat. Okay, so if you're checking like this, it's about medium rare. Okay, and then this is like pretty rare. And then when you tighten your fist, if you check here, that's well done. For a medium rare, I would keep it on each side, maybe do 3 to 5 minutes on each side. Take it off, let it rest, let it cook through, and then you obviously get your preferred doneness, as they like to call it. Then for something else like medium, you would maybe do 5 to 8 minutes on each side, and then obviously well done, you just cook it.
Just carry on going until it starts burning.
Yeah, till it's black, then you can take it off and chow.
Let's pretend this is a high carb day. So you've told us about beef and the mushrooms. Let's get a carbohydrate. What kind of carbohydrate would you put with this meal?
I'd actually do a sweet potato. It kind of balances out that earthy, nutty taste that you get from mushrooms, but the orange one. The normal white sweet potato is a little sweeter, so you kind of want to balance it out. Don't have something too sweet and then salty. It's not a good combo.
We've got beef, that's medium rare, so we don't lose all the nutritional value.
Yes.
We have got mushrooms, don't rinse them, little bit of oil, salt and pepper, nuts and rosemary, and then we have a sweet potato, but the orange sweet potato.